Hi, I'm Lucy, and welcome to Beautifully Unfinished, the space where we talk honestly about life and all the beautiful, the messy, the ups, the downs, everything that comes with it. Before we begin, if this episode resonates with you in any way, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe, share it, leave a review, because it truly helps just keep this podcast going. You know what I think we most underestimate in this life? That's friendship. I'm not talking the loud social media kind. I'm talking about the quiet people who answer the phone when your world is heavy. The people who help you sort through the noise in your mind. The people who remind you who you are, especially when life makes you forget. I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy Simon Sinek. He speaks a lot about optimism, and he also speaks a lot about friendship and how underestimated it actually is. He speaks about the simple phrase that can almost become a code between friends. Do you have 8 minutes? And those 8 minutes really mean, I need you. I think about it often. How easily we cancel time with friends for work, for meetings, for responsibilities and obligations, yet rarely do we do it the other way around. This is strange really, because if you have 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 really good friends in this life, friends you can count on when life gets hard, then you're incredibly blessed. Those people become part of what helps you face the world. And in my experience, friendship becomes far more meaningful with age. It becomes less about socializing, more about survival. We get on with our lives, and often because of distance or circumstances or families or exhaustion or simply being busy, we don't spend nearly enough time with the people who love us the most and who we love the most. And yet somehow those true friends are always there. But in reality, anything meaningful, including friendship, needs tending. I honestly don't know what I would have done without my close friends. They've held me up when I felt like I was falling apart. They've offered timeless wisdom, listened to endless overthinking, and sat with me through the swearing, the tears, the laughter, and the complete emotional chaos out there. And somehow, no matter what's happening in my life, time spent with close friends always refuels me. And the truth is, I know how lucky I am. I know I've got the most amazing friends, the kind of friends who keep me sane and occasionally completely insane all at the same time. The friends who keep my supply of tissues flowing, my swear words well practiced, my laughing muscles fit. The friends who simply get me and who I can completely get in return. And honestly, I feel blessed for having that. They've become a witness to my life. They steady you as life happens through marriage, children, betrayal, grief, menopause, loss, health scares, and all the unexpected turns life gives. Friendship is my stabilizer. My friends often remind me of the versions of myself I sometimes forget. They carry pieces of us until we have the strength to carry them ourselves again. And friendship is not always about being told what you want to hear. Rest assured, I know that one. Sometimes I get the, no, Lucy, you shouldn't absolutely wear that sack, or no, you shouldn't be doing that. That's a terrible idea. Or it's simply, Luce, you can do this. Sometimes it's a hilarious meme that makes you laugh out loud when you've been crying. Or a bestie message that suddenly makes you smile. Or a heartfelt message that unexpectedly brings tears to your eyes. Because someone sees you. And sometimes those conversations with a friend are not solutions at all. They're just untangling your thoughts. Often deep down, we already know the answer. But a trusted friend becomes the sounding board that helps us hear ourselves clearly. And not every conversation needs advice. Sometimes we simply need someone safe enough to empty our overflowing, totally overthinking minds with and have no judgment. And in my experience, I think women tend to process emotionally through conversation and connection, while maybe men are a little bit more solution driven. I might be wrong, but that's how I take it. And maybe both have something to teach each other. Friendship takes intention, but that can be hard when life gets busy, when there's work, responsibilities, exhaustion, stress. All of it can be slowly isolating us if we're not careful. I actually feel quite guilty about this sometimes. I can name a dozen people I deeply care about, who I know I should be connecting with more often. And then I suddenly realize how much time has passed. Moments where I wish I could press the pause button on life, properly catch up. We often assume people know we care. But friendships need tending too, because friendship is not built on the big moments. It's built on the check-ins. It's the voice notes. It's the remembering the birthdays, which I'm really quite bad about if I don't check in on Facebook. It's the how are you conversations. And honestly, sometimes life just gets a bit overwhelming and you drop the balls, and that's okay. Because it is a fast-paced world. It's no wonder we sometimes lose our footing. But the older I get, the more I realize friendship is one of life's greatest forms of wealth. It got me thinking about how deeply human connection actually matters and the role loneliness can play in our lives. Years ago, there was a study that was referred to as a research study as rat park. Researchers noticed that rats kept isolated in cages were far more likely to consume drug-laced water rather than normal water. There was like 2 bottles and they would favor the drug one, often to destructive levels. But then Professor Bruce Alexander questioned whether the real issue was the drugs or the isolation. So they created what has become known as the rat park, a space where other rats had companions, stimulation, food, play, connection. And interestingly, the rats living in community showed far less interest in the drug-laced water. Whether the study was perfect or not, I think the message behind it feels deeply human. Connection matters. Loneliness changes us. We're not meant to do life entirely alone. Friendship, support, laughter, feeling seen and heard, these things are not luxuries. In many ways, they are part of what keeps us emotionally alive. I once heard about these orphanages in Romania shortly after the fall of Nicolae Ceausescu back in the 80s, where visitors were struck by the silence. You would expect these children in these orphanages to be crying, playing, cooing out for comfort, but instead many of the rooms were eerily quiet. The babies barely cried, not because they didn't need comfort, but because they had learned that nobody was coming. How sad is that? I think sometimes adults become emotionally quiet in the same way. We stop reaching out. We stop asking for help. We stop saying we're struggling. Not because we don't need connection, but because somewhere along the way we learned to carry these things alone. Maybe we all need a code with the people who are closest to us. Something as simple as like Simon Sinek says, do you have 8 minutes? And knowing that when those words come through, you pause a moment, you truly pay attention, because beneath those 8 minutes, maybe there's a friend out there saying, I really need you right now. I realize how many times my own friends have sat with me in the mud, helping me keep afloat through my heaviest life seasons. If you have 1 or 2 of those people in your life, you can truly call your friend when your heart is heavy, and you can truly call on to them. And if someone trusts you enough to call you, answer. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, take care of yourself, be gentle, and don't forget that friendship may just be one of the quietest forms of love we will ever experience. I hope I see you next week. Take care for now.